So Jamie, obviously you've worked so much on your mental health and have this amazing fortitude. What is something you have learned or heard of or that you've created that will help people struggling with their mental health to keep going?
Yeah, watch this interview. I'm sure you'll get a lot out of it. But I always tell people your only limitations are what you believe them to be. So believe you can be the best. You know what I mean?
Love it. That's a great one.
And I said that before I got injured. So I would definitely say keep believing, keep fighting, and never give up. I know it sounds cliche to say never give up because everybody says it, but it's so true. I'm telling you, I just told you 10 years.
Yeah.
Of my life, 11 years to make an Olympic team. Right now, I've been injured for 9 years, and I'm back on my feet, and I'm walking, I'm pushing forward. Who knows? But I will get there, and you will get there. Yeah. You just got to stay positive and keep fighting, and keep God first, and everything will be all right.
Yes,
wise.
That's what I say. Like the
wise words. Yeah.
Right. You never give up because you never know the next day could be the day your life changes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Martin Lawrence said that. He's like, you can get 1,000 no's, but it'd be that 1,001 that changed your life forever.
Yeah, right. And if you would have stopped before then, you don't get that one.
Some very wise words from two very wise men.
Welcome to the chaos.
Jamie and I have a history.
Yeah.
But until we get to that, I wanted to talk about before we met, what led you to become an athlete and then becoming an Olympian, if you don't mind talking about that.
Yeah, no problem. I started high jumping when I was 16. I was a junior in high school. I missed out on making the basketball team that year because I had a bad grade in geometry. So because if you were a junior, you couldn't be on the team, but if you were a senior, if you had like a D or something like that, they give you time to make it up so you could still play. Well, I was a junior and I had a D, and they were like, "Oh, sorry, we gotta let you go." So I was like, "Oh, great! I'm not gonna play any sports this year. So what am I gonna do, right?" And so my friend was running track, and he was like, "You should come out for the track team, do the high jump." And I was like, "No, he didn't say do the high jump. He said you should come out for the track team." And I was like, "What? No, I don't like running."
Yeah.
And he was like, No. You can do the high jump, work on your jumping ability, and come back next year, and you'll be dunking on everybody." I was like, "Okay, that sounds like a good plan."
Yeah.
So I did that, and I went out there. My first year, I jumped like 6'4", just no training, I was 6'4" myself, so that was my
So you were
goal.
jumping like a human being.
Yeah, I was jumping my height.
Crazy.
So that was my goal for that year. And then I made it to state meet, California state meet. And so that was kind of big. And the guy who had told me to come out, he had been running track all his life. And I was like, and he didn't make it to state meet. It was like me and 2 girls. So I was like, well, if me and 2 girls made it, I must have a talent at this. I did have a lot of fun, but I also must have a talent. So I was like, I'm going to do that again next year. So I played basketball my senior year, and then I did it again the next year, and I jumped 6'9". And I got some offers to some colleges and stuff, but they were all D2, and I knew that I wanted to be like one of the best. And to be one of the best, I figured I needed to go D1, to compete against the best. So I went to junior college. I jumped 7 feet in junior college and got some offers to some schools. And it came down to Eastern Michigan and Berkeley. And so Berkeley wanted me to wait another semester, but Eastern Michigan was like, "We'll take you now." And I was like, well, maybe, because I wanted like an away college experience. I didn't want to stay in Sacramento because I felt like a lot of my friends were getting in trouble and going to jail and smoking weed or drinking or whatever. And I just didn't want to be part of that. I want to be the guy who made it out, kind of a thing. So I decided on Eastern Michigan, and they had a good business college, and went out there and thought that I was going to be like the top guy out there. And I wasn't. I was like a real average guy because that's around the height that everybody was jumping. So I was like, you know what? I told my coach, I said, I went to this last chance meet to try to make it to the NCAAs. And he was like, "Oh yeah, Jamie, don't worry about it. You'll be all right." I said, "Coach, next year I'm going to be an All-American. I'm going to break the school record, and I'm going to make it to the nationals." And I was talking about not just the NCAA nationals, talking about the U.S. nationals. "Yeah, Jamie, I think you can do it." And I was like, I think he thinks I'm BSing right now. I'm so 100% like sincere, right? And so we were in Tennessee. We drove back the next year. I did everything I said I was going to do. I trained super hard, got on a good weight program. I went from 7 feet to 7'4" that next year.
Damn.
Yes, just by committing myself and just saying, this is what I'm going to do, And I did everything. I broke the school records, indoor and outdoor school record. I became an All-American. And I went to the outdoor NCs that year, or outdoor nationals that year, U.S. nationals. And I think I placed like 7th. So I was like, this was cool. It was fun. I know what to do. I know the formula now.
Yeah.
Which is the formula kind of for life. You know what I mean? Like you put in the time and the effort and you work hard and you try to get as good as you can get. And then you could possibly be, at the top level,
Yeah.
So next year I did the same thing. Ended up jumping 7.6, broke the school record again. And then at that point in time, I started thinking, well, it took 7.6 to make the Olympic team. I have a good opportunity to make an Olympic team. So I started having dreams of being an Olympian at that point in time when I was in college. And then, I graduated and went out for my first Olympic trials, which was in Sacramento, and I placed 5th. So you got to be on the top 3, and you got to have the Olympic A standard to make the team. So I was like, oh man, well, what am I going to do? I got another 4 years to wait. Well, fortunately, the Olympic trials again was in Sacramento in 2004. So that was 2000 that I had went for my first Olympic team. Then in 2004, I tried again. I ended up moving to San Diego, and they had like an Olympic training center out there. And I was training with them, and I just kind of had my mind a lot more focused out there because it's a big transition coming from college, now going back home and trying to figure out what life is. You got to get a job now. You got to like figure out where you're going to train and who's going to coach you. It's like all these different things that happen when you transition out of college. So the Olympic Training Center in San Diego gave me a good place to like kind of almost recreate that college environment. They had like a dorm area where you can live. They had food, they had coaches, they had a track, trainers, everything you need to be the best athlete you can be. So I trained out there for the next 13 years really. But leading up to 2004, I trained there, and then I went back home to Sacramento and I made the Olympic team in 2004.
Wow.
That was my first Olympic team in front of my home crowd, which was like the highlight of my career. Like I'm out there, I ended up jumping 7 3/4, which was
Jesus.
a new personal best.
Wow.
I like run into the middle of the field. I'm like, rip off my shirt. I do a cartwheel. I do a backflip. I'm like, yeah. I'm so excited.
Yes.
And then I ended up going to Olympic Games that year in Athens, Greece, and placing 4th at the Olympic trial or at the Olympic Games. Just missing out on a medal. Second, 3rd, and 4th, we all jumped the same height. So the way it works is you get 3 attempts at each height. And if you clear it on your first attempt, you're going to be top. If you do the second, then you're going to be 1 down. So 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, those guys cleared 7, 8 on their first attempt, and I cleared on my second attempt.
Wow.
And then the guy who won jumped 7, 8 3/4. And so he just jumped a little bit higher than we did. Yeah.
That close.
So we were all so close. Yeah. So.
What was that experience like though, being an Olympian? Because like you're even though you didn't medal, unfortunately, you're still one of the top athletes in the world.
Yeah.
Like, what was that feeling like? That seems really cool.
It was a great experience. I think I ranked 4th in the world that year. And more than anything, the opening ceremonies was just electric. You get to meet all these amazing athletes, NBA players, tennis players, like whoever, the gymnasts are all like little people, not to brag on them at all, but they're just.
Someone bows like 4'10".
You're like, how tall are you?
I'm 6'4".
6'4", yeah.
So, and then they're really young too. A lot of them like, 15 years old or something like that, so it's like they're like literally little kids, so but it was really cool. I went and seen a boxing match. I went and seen a basketball game, and like I said, the opening ceremonies was electric. And then just being out there competing, it was just like the energy is like, it just, you can do one or the other. You could either fall because it's like too overwhelming, or you can use that energy to rise you up. And I use it to rise me up, to really just lift me and go out there and have a lot of fun. Because to me, just making an Olympic team was the goal, and I did that. And so everything after that was like icing on the cake. So it wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna go here and I'm not gonna do anything. No, I'm still gonna come out here and compete.
Yeah.
But I've already really kind of got my medal. You know what I mean? Right. And then I went there and I jumped the personal best. I jumped 7, 8. So it was like, I won again in that standpoint because I went out there and did the best I could do. You can't really control what everybody else does. You know what I mean? So I had a great time. 4 years later, I tried it again, 2008, and there was like a weird new rule that they instated. So remember I said there's 2 criteria to make the team. You got to be top 3, and then you also have to have an Olympic A standard. Well, normally they give you like a month afterwards to kind of chase this standard if you don't have it by the end of the Olympic trials. And so this year they were like, no, we're going to cut it off at the Olympic trials. But they didn't tell us until like, say the Olympic trials were at the end of June. They told us at the beginning of June. It was like, well, there's no more meets to go to. It's like 1 or 2 more meets that you can really try to get this standard. So I ended up going to the Olympic trials. I placed second, so that's one criteria down, but I didn't have the standard. Well, 4 days later, I fly to Ireland and end up jumping the standard. So it was like, so now I do this whole protest. I do this whole arbitration. In arbitration, it's like you go to like a room and it's like a judge and you plead your case and you're like, look, this is not right. This is how it's always been. The rest of the world still had a whole month later to chase a standard. They just, for whatever reason, decided to cut it off at Olympic trials. So I fought my case and I unfortunately lost. So I was like, man, well, what else am I going to do? And I was dating this girl in London at the time. And so she had made the team. So I was like, well, I'm just going to be hanging out in London for two weeks or whatever. So I decided to take acting class.
Okay.
Yeah. And I took my first acting class out there. And that's when I really fell in love with acting.
I was curious. I have so many questions just to become an Olympian and to have that mental fortitude. Like, where did that come from? It was at a young age? Because I know you personally, and I know that you are the hardest working person in the room. And like, you pushed me, and we'll get to that, but you pushed me to work harder. And like, was that something that's always instilled in you? Was that taught to you?
Were you there that day when I was like in the light gate and I was like trying to walk for the first time?
Yeah.
You were there that day?
I think so,
and I was like screaming I'm gonna walk, I'm gonna walk. Were you there that day?
I think so.
Oh man, that was like,
because you left before me, I think.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I did.
So yeah, I would have been there.
Yeah. Well, not to really make fun of it, but that was like a defining moment for me too. I actually put that in my script as well. It's really cool. But it's funny. I started jumping well in college, and broke the school record. And then I remember I did an interview with the school newspaper, and they were like, asked me just normal questions, whatever. And I just jumped to personal best, so I'm feeling like on cloud 9, and I'm like, yeah. And then he asked me a question. He said, why do you high jump? I was like, that's interesting. I've never really thought about it in a sense, like, I could have gave him the generic answer. It's like, oh, I hate to lose. I love to win and this and that, whatever. Like, and for some reason at that moment when he asked me that question, it hit me a little harder and I thought a little deeper about it. And I was like, so me and my mom could have a better life. And then I started crying. I was like, oh,
yeah.
Oh God. And I was like, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. He's like, no. And he was like having the interview of his life.
Yeah,
like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, so I was just like so emotional. And then it like clicked for me on why I do what I do. Why? Because I'm like fighting so hard for me and my mom to have a better life, Yeah. And so I think just having that instilled in me at a young age, because we moved around a lot, we lived in bad areas and all that stuff, that made me want to fight. I think that's how I got that,
Hit me hard, man, because that's how I always think, like, anything that I do, any project, anytime I'm on something, it's like, can't wait to help my family out. Can't wait to help my mom, give her the house that she wants. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's definitely a good driving force, man.
Yeah. So I think that's where it got instilled in me somehow. You know, just seeing how my mom struggled as I grew up as a kid.
There was something interesting you said like earlier too, because you talk about an internal reason why, right, instead of an external. Because when you said when you went to the Olympics and you placed 4th, that you were still proud of yourself. It was still a win.
No, I wasn't. I was and I wasn't.
You was and you weren't. Okay.
So let me explain. After the Olympic Games, I had like what they call post-Olympic depression, and I don't say that to be like, oh man, my life is over. It was just like, man, what am I gonna do now? Like, I've been to the zenith of competing, and so I was seeing a sports psychologist at the time. So he kind of really helped me to realize you didn't lose that day, because I was all about like, it was very bittersweet for me because I jumped a personal best, but then I got 4th. I missed a medal, like so close by one jump, you know what I mean? So that hurt me. And I remember like walking off the field and like, I got a picture, somebody took a picture of me and I was like drained. Just like, because I know I had given everything. And so it was like, okay, I gave everything and I still didn't medal, which was my goal. Now what? And so for a few years, it just really took me some time to kind of get back up to jumping at those heights again. But working with the sports psychologist, he's the one who really made me realize that, Jamie, you went there, you did your personal best. It's just what I said. You can't control what nobody else does. So no matter what, you were a winner that day. And it took me time to realize that, but I finally did. So then when I made my next team in 2012, didn't matter what happened. Like as long as I went there and did the best I could do, which it was, I was happy. I got 5th that time, in the second Olympics I went to in London in 2012.
But you were happier in that one.
I was way happier.
That's amazing.
I was way happier. And it was funny because one of the BBC interviewers, they were like, you got to be the happiest person who didn't get a medal. I remember her saying that. And I was like, hey, I'm just counting my blessings. I'm so happy to be here. At the point in time, I was 35 years old, competing against guys who were like 21, 22,
Wow.
So I was like
That's crazy.
8, 10 years older than these kids, so I was just super blessed to be there and still almost medaled again because the guys who got second, they all jumped the same height I did. They just did it on their first attempt. I did it on my second attempt.
Oh, man.
So literally I pretty much got 4th again, because the way it works is first place, the guy jumped 7 3/4. Second place jumped 7 6. It was 3-way tie. So then they went 2nd, 3rd, 4th. I was the next person down. So it's such a weird like rule. Really, I should be 3rd because those guys tied for 2nd. I'm the next person down. I should be 3rd.
Right.
So I'm an unofficial bronze medalist.
Good.
We'll go with that. Give it up. And was 2012 your last Olympics?
Yes. And then I retired in 2013.
That's so awesome though that like you kind of can go out with no regrets and like having the last one be that like, and that's amazing that you had a sports psychologist because a lot of people wouldn't do that, go to a sports psychologist and then be like, yo, I left and you left nothing on the table.
Nothing. I gave it
That's
everything.
amazing.
I never, I had a mentor in my life. His name was Joe Rodan, and he used to high jump, and he was like, Jamie, no matter what, you don't want to have any regrets when you're done with this. Like, do it for as long as you can, have as much fun as you can, travel the world as much as you can, but don't have any regrets. And so I like really took that to heart, just to try to do everything I could. If I need to be if this is going to help me be the best, talking to the sports psychologist, that's what I'm going to do. And he really helped me out a lot. So
that's really inspirational, dude, because I think there's a lot of people that want to accomplish something but don't have the will to keep pushing and don't so many people look at the accolade. If I didn't get this, I failed. And it's like, well, that's really not true.
No, it takes time. And remember what I said, I started as a junior in high school. That was 1993. I'm an old head guy. Yes.
You started late, like.
Yeah, I started late. I was 16 years old when I started. I didn't make my first team until I was 26 years old. 10 years later. Yeah, I made my first world championship team in 2003, and then the next year, 2004, I made the Olympic team. So literally, it took me 11 years to make an Olympic team.
Wow.
I just kept going at it.
Crazy.
I kept having that drive, like I can do this. I know I can. My faith, my drive, my hunger, wanting to have a better life for me and my mom. Like all these things were pushing me to get to where I got to, but it took time. I think a lot of times nowadays people are like, we live in this like microwave society. Everybody wants to push a button and then seconds later, I'm this guy.
Yep.
Me and my wife have this saying, everybody wants to be Olympian, but don't want to be Olympian.
Yeah.
No,
you're right.
Everybody wants to be Olympian, but they don't want to be Olympian. They don't want to put the time and effort and work and dedication and sacrifice to do what it is that I did, And so I look at that with this injury the same way. It's like, I might not be healed in a year. I might not be healed in 2 years, but I will be healed because I'm going to keep fighting. I'm going to keep working. I'm going to keep driving until I am running again one day.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
So
awesome.
I'm glad you brought that up because, a lot of people don't know the history of what you went through and then how we met.
Mm-hmm.
And then I want you to get into like how the acting kind of all came into play with that. So if you don't mind sharing.
It's a lot.
Yeah, I know, right?
We got time.
We got
Okay.
time.
We got time.
How you doing? Oh, you on time? Okay. That's my ride. I'm on my ride.
Shout out Dominique.
Right. So I started acting, like I told you, in 2008. Came home, found a great acting class that told me, hey, if you want to be an actor, Hollywood's not always going to write the roles for you, so you got to write your own roles. So I started trying to write a little bit. I actually started trying to write before that. I was out in Kansas trying to train for the team. My coach was in Kansas, and I just was bored. So I was like, let me write a script. My friend had moved to LA. He's a comedian. And I was like, hey, let's work on this. And so we did, and gave me something to do while I was training for the Olympics, but then came back to San Diego, found a great acting class. And I was in that class literally for like 6 years or something like that. And it was a lot of fun. We did a lot of different things, We did Shakespeare. We did like cold reads. We did so much stuff, We did like, what do they call them when you go and you see, agents and managers and stuff like showcase. Yeah, we did showcases and stuff like that. So that was a lot of fun too. Booked my first role from one of those showcases. I did this movie called Jerusalem Countdown.
Okay.
And it was like a faith-based, like end of the world kind of thing. And then from that movie, I got another movie called what was that movie called? Sorry, I'm blanking. This seems like so long ago.
Just the fact that
The
you
Encounter.
booked something from a showcase.
Doesn't happen
They
very
usually
often.
like they were always so scammy. Like looking back,
It's a money grab.
it's always yeah.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. No, I booked this other movie called The Encounter. So the guy who ran the acting class, his name is Kerry Scott, the teacher. He had a lot of great relationships. He also is an actor, and he's been acting for years. And so one of his friends owns PureFlix Entertainment, which is a big faith-based company. And so he would come in and sit in on the showcases, and he'd be like, "Oh yeah, I like that guy. I want him to be in my movie." And I'll actually book something, what I mean, like from the showcase. So it was great. And I know there's been a lot of people who've gotten reps from it and stuff like that. So, and this is from San Diego, which is different because a lot of people don't go to San Diego to do work. They come here to LA, so. But anyways, started doing that. I decided to write my own project. I said I had produced something before. So I did this like gritty crime drama thing, and I was trying to sell that. My friend Dominique was in it. And it was called Blood Brothers, and that was a lot of fun. And then I was still competing, made the team 2012, 2013. I competed one more year and retired. So I started in 1993 and then retired in 2013. So it was a 20-year
Wow, that's a long
career, right? But I was also thinking in 2008 when I went to that acting class, I was thinking, okay, what am I going to do when I get out of track and field? So I want to transition smoothly.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I started taking an acting class. And I didn't realize that it was going to take so long for acting as well. Like the difference between like acting and like, being an athlete is like being an athlete. If I work hard, I will get the accolades. I will do the things that I've prepared to do. It's not the same in acting. It's like gymnastics. It's a judge sport. You know what I mean? Like I could be the best actor. I could give the best audition. But if the casting director's like, I don't like his eyes. He looks like my ex-boyfriend.
Yeah.
I'm not going to get the role, you know what I mean? Or he's too tall for our star or whatever it is, So that's the difference between like being an athlete and an actor. So now dealing with that, I think that's kind of like making the goal of being successful at acting, it stretches it out a little bit longer for people. You know what I mean? It's not going to happen like, if I train hard this year, I'm gonna make an Olympic team this year, kind of a thing, or the next 4 years or whatever. So anyways, did that, and I feel like I've lost track of your question.
Yeah, no. No, first of all, like it's great.
Oh, you were talking about the accident, right?
Yeah, the accident.
And how the accident happened. Okay, so 2013, I retired. 2014, I was volunteer coach at UCLA. I was like coaching like these post-collegiate athletes, trying to get them to the level that I had made it to. And, well, the thing about it at the time, I was like, well, I'll do this till acting takes off. So I just kept working with them, helping these athletes to get better. Then 2015, I worked at USC, was an assistant coach. Like I got on as an actual assistant coach. They had heard about me. And then the next year, which was 2016, I decided, okay, I don't want to work in NCAAs. It's like a lot of pressure, a lot of paperwork, a lot of political BS, like there's a lot that goes on, and you like really got to love being a college coach. It's a career. You know what I mean? You can't do anything else. And I wanted to still do acting, writing, and producing. So when I was at USC, the coach was like, can't do that no more.
Can't do that.
Because if you're over there doing that and your athlete's not doing well, they're gonna be like, well, why is he doing that? He should be over here coaching my kid.
Yeah.
So I had to like stop all that while I was at USC, and I was like, this is a great opportunity. It's a great career. I'm getting a constant check. Is this what I want to do? And then it was like, not really, so it helped me to realize that's not where my love lies. I like to help people get better as high jumpers and athletes or just in general. But I don't want to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go to the track, and help you out, or go to a track meet and get you warmed up and all that. I don't want to do that no more. I spent 20 years in the sport. I feel like I'm ready to move on and transition to something else. So 2016, I'm still coaching these post-collegiate guys and girls. And I was getting like little opportunities here and there. And then one day we're at the track And I say opportunities like with acting and writing and stuff like that. I met a really great guy, Bentley Kyle Evans, who allowed me to come in and do like punch-up writing on some of his TV shows that were on Bounce TV. One was called Family Time that starred Omar Gooding. And then another one was called In the Cut that starred Dorian Wilson. And these were like multi-cam sitcoms. Bentley, he's like OG in the game. He's the guy who was the showrunner for The Martin Show and The Jamie Foxx Show.
Oh, nice.
So I was getting a chance to like learn a lot from him too. So that was fun. And then in 2016, I'm out at the track. We just finished like wrapping another season of In the Cut or Family Time. I can't remember. I'm coaching the kids and we're all having a good time. I'm also still working out at the time, you know, being in shape. And then we like do some drills and then we're doing like some somersaults. And I was like, yeah. And, you know, I told a friend of mine, I was like, yeah, of course I can still do a somersault. It's nothing, right? So we go to the track. I have one of the athletes. I was like, hey, record this real quick. So I do a backflip. Boom, boom. I was like, 2016, April 22nd, right? On the video. Still got the video, so that's why I know, right? And so I'm like on some AstroTurf. And then I was like, oh, that was fun. I was like, let me try it one more time, see if I can make it a little bit cleaner. And so I'm like bouncing there and I'm like, and I push up. And when I push up, like my foot slipped. And I was like, oh, shoot, that's weird. And I like went back and my feet like flailed in the air. And I went literally from my feet to my head and I hit my head. I was like, and all I heard was like, poof. And then I was like on the ground and like my cheek was in the AstroTurf. And I was like, oh, shoot. And I'm trying to move my body. I was like, oh, shoot, I can't move. And I just remember the first thing I heard was, don't worry, you'll be all right. You just got to go through this. And I was like, what? What does that mean? I was like, I was like, oh my God, I hope I'm not paralyzed. No, God, please don't let me be paralyzed. And then literally like my life like flashed before my eyes, like right there. I'm like thinking of just a whole bunch of stuff. People who I've seen in wheelchairs, people who broke their neck and came back. All these different things like are just going through my mind. And all of a sudden when the athletes comes into view, I was like, hey, call 911. I've been hurt really bad. And it was like so surreal again at the time. And I was like, I can't move and I can't breathe very well. This is like crazy. So eventually I had the athletes like roll me over because I thought, because I was like the position that I was in, I couldn't breathe very well. I was like, hey, hold my head, roll me over onto my back so I can get some more air. And they did. And then eventually the paramedics showed up and they medevaced me to LAC USC. And then they did an MRI and they said that the disc in my neck had slid back and bruised the spinal cord between C3 and C4. So what they needed to do was just basically pull it back into place and then fuse those two vertebrae. So that's what they did. And then after that, it was like kind of a waiting game to see what will come back. Everything from my chest down, I couldn't move. I could kind of shrug my shoulders, but that was it. And then after the surgery, I could flex my quads. So I was like, okay, I can shrug my shoulders and I can flex my quads. So that's telling me I should be able to use my legs again at some point in time, you know, and I felt like that voice that I heard was God saying, don't worry, you'll be okay. You just got to go through this. So I was like, okay, feeling like God is telling me you will get back, but this is what you have to go through right now. And it was a good and a bad thing. You know, it was like, you don't want to be injured like that. It's a traumatic life injury. It's put stress on you, your whole family, everybody around you. But then it also helped to open up doors for other things, you know, and help me be more successful in my life, like all around. Like now I have a family, I have kids, I work in the industry. Like I'm happy doing that. Like I don't have no complaints. You know, my life is great right now.
Yeah.
You know, other than me being injured, not being able to move the way I want to move, my life is great. I have no complaints, man.
Oh man, it's an incredible story. And just to tie in like how I met you, I remember after my injury, they transferred me to a rehab hospital called Rancho Los Amigos.
Right.
And you know, in my head, I don't know what is happening. And I remember I rolled in and they were like, you're going to have a roommate in your room with you.
Right.
And I roll in and I look over and I see this guy getting spoon fed. Literally like
I couldn't
two
move
nurses
anything.
and he's just getting spoon fed. And I'm like, oh shit. Like this, it just hit me like this is real.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, we would talk, we had the curtain between us and we would talk at night and like just it makes me so happy that I got put in a room with you because I didn't know how I was going to make it out of there. And then hearing you, like, I remember his people would ask him, "How you doing today, Jamie?" He's like, "Getting better every day," and every day he would say this. Right? Is that what he said?
Yep.
Getting better every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, this dude, you know? And then it started like creeping into my head. And he would wake up. Everybody knows I'm not a morning person. And they would come in there at like 6 a.m. and I would be hiding under my covers. And then I hear, Jamie's already in there working out. I'm like, damn it. So like you brought that not competition. You brought the competitive spirit out of me. Like, oh, if he's doing it, then I can do it too. And he'd be in there working. He'd be the first one in, last one out. So like it started like, okay, I can do this too. And like to see that he went from not being able to move anything to slowly but surely he's like walking on, crutches. Now he's walking on crutches, and for a time he was in a wheelchair, but I was like,
I still use a wheelchair.
Yeah, right. But like you're like, and that's what I was talking about, the mental fortitude. Like you were so mentally strong that you helped me out into building that. And I feel blessed that I got to be in a room with you.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Yeah, and he was like a celebrity, dude. The nurses like, Jamie, they're taking pictures. Former Olympian. I could just see Jamie like, get me out of here. But
never former Olympian. You're always an Olympian.
You're always an Olympian.
Yes.
Oh, right. Yes, but that they would say that, and like, I guess you would have to like educate just like how you did me, because that's what people say. And you're like, you're always an Olympian, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was great that I got to be in the room with you, and you taught me a lot about persevering and believing in yourself, and just really thinking about like you're going to get better every day.
Yeah.
Right? You just got to get through it.
Yeah.
So then
I got a question for the both of you. The energy is amazing being around the both of you, especially like Danny always has great energy. Jamie, you have amazing energy too, and it's just great. And like, I'm just more like, yo, I just want to listen. Like, even though I'm hosting, I'm like, yo, you guys are just having like, everything is great. The fortitude is amazing, and you pushed each other. There had to be some sort of obviously this was a very traumatic experience for the both of you. Right. So I'm assuming there had to be some dark times or like really frustration. How did you two help each other out and pull each other out when you were going through, when the mental fortitude maybe wasn't there one afternoon, or you hit a wall, or because again, I don't know, but I'm sure there had to be times where like you were frustrated or aggravated or angry.
Yeah, of course. For me, I feel like 90% of the time I was really optimistic, and 10% of the time it was like frustration, and like, man, I just want to get up. Like, I just want to go to the bathroom. I can't get to the bathroom in time. Like, things like that would like frustrate me and make me more irritated. But then, which I didn't really have it as much in the hospital, because I just was like on this schedule. But when I got home, now I was like, okay, now you're home, and then it's a lot more quiet time to be to yourself and think to yourself as well. And so like when I was at home, if my girlfriend, now wife, would leave, and I'd be at home, and then be like, oh shoot, I got to get to the bathroom. How am I going to get to the bathroom? What am I going to do? And I can't quite get to the bathroom and on time or whatever. I would like take my 5 minutes, cry, talk to God just out loud, like, help me out. Let me, help me, give me something, like, let me, get through this, and just kind of talk it out with God. And then I was cool. And I was back to like, all right, I do some more squats. Let me go over here by this chair, see if I can pull myself up and like do some quarter squats for a little bit. Like it was like I had to just take those moments and just let it out, because I think a lot of times, too many times, people just try to bottle it up, like, oh, whatever, I'll be all right. I can just keep going. Well, you can, until that bottle just keeps kind of filling up, and now it's a keg and it's going to bust.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now it's going to be even bigger. So I kind of try to learn to just release those things as they happen. And I felt happier in my life, and then I just always try to look at things with a certain type of perspective. People can get into an injury, a traumatic injury like this, and stop. The doctor said, I'll never walk again. I'm just never going to walk again. I'm going to be okay. I'll just be this, whatever this is right here. And they don't push any further than that. And that's not what I wanted for my life. I wanted more for my life. I want to have kids. I want to have, a family. I want to play with my kids. Like, I didn't want to just be in a vegetative kind of state. So I fought, and I kept fighting. I keep fighting, until I'm back, till I'm happy, So
yeah.
And I'm getting there. I'm getting better and better every day.
Ben and Barrett, exactly.
Every day.
You know, it's all about the mental. And that's what I was going to say is like, you can have this perspective, it's not going to get better, or you can have a perspective, it is going to get better. And me learning this through track and field, learning this through sports psychologists saying, you know, okay, if I'm competing and I'm looking at a bar and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can clear that. Oh, I feel tired. Oh, and I'm starting to have these negative thoughts. Well, you got to combat those negative thoughts with positive thoughts. And you're going to be so much stronger. So there was a test that I remember one of these sports psychologists did. They came, they were like, okay, put your arms straight out and I'm going to push them down. So just resist against me, right? And he said, okay, close your eyes, put your arms out. Now I want you to think about something that makes you very, very sad. It's something that's, troubling in your life or whatever. So he says, okay, I'm gonna count to 3. You got it? Yeah. When I say 3, I'm gonna push down. You just resist with all your might. And they'll be like, okay, cool. So they do that. 1, 2, 3. They push down, and the arms come about halfway down. Right? It's like, okay, let's try it again. This time, think about something that makes you happy in your life, something that makes you excited, something that you really love to do. Right? Okay, you got it? Yeah, cool. Count to 3. I'm gonna push you down. 1, 2, 3. They barely move. So much stronger. So it tells you that being positive and optimistic there's more strength in that. Mm-hmm. There's more ways to be stronger than that. Whereas if you're thinking negative, you're going to be weaker. Yeah. So I always try to keep that positive, optimistic idea and approach because I'm stronger that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, since I'm an ambassador for Triumph Foundation and we help people with spinal cord injury and help them deal with life, and we go to visit them, and sometimes I'll go to Rancho and I'll meet newly injured people. Mm-hmm. I always bring up your story.
Oh, interesting.
Always. Like, because everybody's first thought is like, I want to walk again, and I want to be here, and I'm like, you can do it, but you have to put in the work.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Jamie, when I came in, I tell him the story how like I rolled in and you were getting spoon fed.
Yeah.
And now you're walking around on crutches, and their eyes are like, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, it is possible.
Yeah.
But you have to put in the work in, and that goes for anything in life, and now for acting as well. Like for me, my career started getting better because I actually put the work in after my accident. Before my accident, I didn't put the work in. I was that microwave, like, let me put it in here and like, boom, it's there. Right. But that's just not how the most fruitful things that you get in life, you have to work for them.
Right. So let me tell you this story, and we kind of briefly talked about it before we started, was like, so I'd been going to rehab, like you said, I was like one of the first in and out every day. And they put me in this like machine called a light gate, where it's like a big, machine where it kind of like, it's strapped around you, like it harness you. And so if you fall, it'll just catch you. It kind of goes over your head. It's like a big baby walker for adults, right? And so, and then you'll have like a therapist on, each foot so as you try to move, they'll move it for you if they need to, right? So I've been doing this for weeks, and I've been looking down this hallway that leads to the physical therapy room, like imagining myself walk down this hallway. And like nothing's happening for weeks. I'm going back. My right foot is moving just a little bit. My right leg's moving a little bit, but the left leg is just like stuck. So this one day I go to OT first, which is occupational therapy. We work on hand movement stuff. Nothing's happening. I'm trying to move my fingers. Nothing's happening. I'm using catheters at the time, getting UTIs. Like I'm just feeling down, like, oh my God. And I remember the therapist, saying, don't worry. It's okay. Let's just try to move your fingers today. And I'm like, like it's just one of those days kind of feeling like, and when I thought about that, she was like, after I tried to move my fingers and it didn't work, she was like, hey, it's just a bad day, Jamie. Just go get lunch, come back and be refreshed for physical therapy. I was like, all right. I remember thinking that when I was an athlete, and the sports psychologist said, it's not a bad day. It's just a bad moment. Mm-hmm. The day can be great after that, right? Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay. And I went back, got my lunch. And every day I would come in, the physical therapist would say, what do you want to do today? Renee would say, what do you want to do today? And it was always the same. I want to walk. So this time, I didn't want to walk because I was already feeling bad and I hadn't been making any progress. We get in there, and he says, all right, Jimmy, got the light gate all set up for you. I was like, I didn't really want to work on that today. I don't need another letdown today. So I was like, okay. And I'm like also a prideful person to not say no, and if you put this challenge in front of me, okay, I guess I got to go for it. to an extent. I'm not going to hurt myself, but you know. So I was like, all right. So they strapped me up in the light gate, and he's like, all right, Jamie, so you know the routine. Let's try to walk and see if we can get out of the door. And literally from where we're standing to where your door is kind of where we would walk, and then we'd walk down this hallway, and they had another door on this side that would kind of loop around, right? I was like, all right. So he's like, you ready? I was like, yeah, I'm ready. He's like, all right, cool. All right, whenever you're ready. All right, cool. So I take a half a step with my right foot, and I'm trying to move this left. Nothing's moving. And then the therapist pushes it forward. I take another step, just like, I mean, like every step is a battle. My legs feel like tree trunks. Like I'm fighting with everything I got to just barely move, right? I take a half step forward, and I'm like, come on, like this freaking left leg won't freaking move. And I'm like, they push it forward. And I take another with the right, and then they push the left forward. And now I'm starting to get pissed. And I'm like, come on. And like the physical therapy room is like filled. There's like so many people in there. And I'm like, come on, let's go. And like now I'm like starting to tear up, and I'm getting more angry. And I'm like, come on. Now I take a bigger step with the right foot. I take like a foot, and I'm like dragging this left, and he pushes it forward. And I'm like, I am going to walk. Sorry for the sound guy. And, and I take a right step, and then this left moves a little bit. And they're like, good, Jamie, let's go. I am going to run. I am going to run. And I'm like screaming and crying and like snot and tears. And the whole physical therapy, they're like, everybody just stop looking at me. And I'm like, boom, boom, boom. And I'm like clumping out of this therapy room. And I get out of the door, and I'm walking, and I'm like fire and piss, and I will fucking kill everybody because I'm going to do this. And I'm like, boom, right, left, right, left, right. And I get halfway down the hall. The physical therapist is like, stop, Jamie, stop. And I'm like, he's like, I'm sorry, Jamie, I couldn't keep up. You were going too fast. and I was like, and he's like, just rest for a sec. Let me go get the chair. I'll bring it back to you. And I'm like, right. And my girlfriend's there, and her aunt's there, and they're tearing up. They're crying because it's the first day I make like this breakthrough. Sorry, I'm like a little cold. And so then this guy comes out. His name is Hugo, and he was he's a peer mentor. Peer mentors are there who they've been injured for years. They're helping you get through a newly injury. And he's sitting there, and he's looking at me, rolled up, and he's looking at me, and he's like bawling, tearing. And he says, I never tried that hard. I never tried that hard. You know what I mean? Never tried that hard. And me and him are looking at each other, and we're just having this moment. We're just bawling, you know, and I'm like, you know, and that was it, you know. And then the next day, I see him, he's like he's like, Jamie, you just inspired me, man. Like, I got him to start working out again and getting on the treadmill and doing more stuff. But yeah, it was the first day that I really like tapped into something else to really push myself forward, to really make that next step. And ever since then, I've been fighting. You know, I mean, I've been fighting every day, but that was just the first step to more fighting.
Brother, you're an inspiration.
Yes.
Like,
thanks.
It's been like, I've just been kind of sitting here and all of you just like listening.
I know.
Because I'm just like, just giving you my full attention because I'm like, I just so engaged because, brother, like it's insanely inspiring.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I've known you for years, but like a lot of this stuff I'm hearing for the first time. And I remember when you said the left, right, left, that's what I remember. I remember hearing someone yelling left, right, left.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if it was the physical therapist. They were like, all right, left. You know, like I was like and then I was just fighting. And so I'm a little excited right now. So my nerves are like tensed up. But that's the thing that I got to deal with too, is like the energy like going through my body, that tension will like cause my muscles to like fire and react, you know. So that's why kind of my leg is shaking now and stuff like that. So, but I'm okay. I just need to calm down.
I mean, your sympathetic nervous system is completely different. So you have to relearn. I mean, besides learning how to walk, you have to relearn how your body's going to react and how your brain's going to react.
Yeah,
it's a whole different way of living now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You got to learn how to do different movements and try to be calm and take steps now, because it's very easy to be like trying like I was and fighting through it and slowing the motion down a little bit, when if I just relax and just breathe through it, the motion will come a little bit easier and I can move a lot better, so.
It's amazing.
With all this resiliency that you built up and, your constant positivity, and is there any times now, like in present day, where you're like, what do you do when you're battling those days when you're just like, man, where am I going with this? Or because I when I even ask him, I'm like, no, he just like, I feel like he's just pushing like all the time. It's always in the back of his head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yesterday I did some walking in my foyer. I was just telling my friend, and I walked 10 laps in my foyer, but it's a small foyer, but and I was on my feet for like 45 minutes or whatever, but I didn't feel like doing it yesterday, and I've been doing it, and I'll put like 10-pound ankle weights and go outside and walk, but this time I didn't put on the ankle weights. I just kind of went out there and walked, but I didn't want to do it. And there's days that I don't want to do it because it's like trying to put those ankle weights on is like, it's like a hassle, It takes me sometimes like half the time that I'm gonna go out there and walk just to put on the ankle weights because they're so heavy. But then I'm like, but it's one step closer to you getting better. So you got to keep thinking about that. Where do you want to get to? You can stay here where you're at right now, or you can keep fighting, getting 1 step, 1 inch, or 1% closer to being better. So that's like my motivation at the end of the day. And it's not always easy. Sometimes it is hard. Sometimes, like I said, I don't want to get out there. And then I always feel better after I do. Like I didn't put on the ankle weights yesterday, but I went out there and then I like discovered, actually it's a little easier to pick up my left leg, because it's still a little bit delayed sometimes, But it was a lot easier to pick up my left leg as I was walking. And then I'm like teaching my nerves this gait of how to walk again. So it's like I have to put in the reps for that, and it's not going to just come just sitting down doing nothing. So I just have this urge to want to continue to work out. So even if I wasn't injured, I probably would still be working out anyways. So it's like, well, I might as well work out and do stuff that's going to help get me better.
Yeah.
You said it. You want to get a little bit better every day, right?
If I get a little bit better every day, even if it takes 10
bit.
years or 15 years, I get there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if I don't, I won't.
But having that mindset, like you said, most people have that microwave where it's like, I want it now, but you're like, no, this is going to take a while. I understand that, and I'm willing to put in the work, and it gives you that ambition to work every single day, right? Like inch by inch. I take my life. I got sober 2 years ago, and everyone's like, you just got to go one day at a time. I'm like, a day is way too long. Yeah. I need you to go just 1 minute at a time. So 1 minute at a time, 1 inch at a time, 1 moment at a time. Because like you said, you're not having a bad day. You're just having a bad moment. Yeah. You could shake that off, and the next moment could be great.
Right. And I came back to that occupational therapist the next day, and I said, remember, you said I was just having a bad day? It wasn't a bad day. It was a bad moment. And she's like, it's funny. She's like, all the years that I'm here, I'm always learning, but you really taught me something today. And I was like,
yeah, I feel like you taught a lot of people there and opened a lot of eyes and inspired a lot of people there. Yeah. And then me being one of them, like I was lucky to be in the room with you.
Oh, thanks, Danny.
Because you definitely taught me that. And, I work so much harder now. And, there is like a friendly competition now that we're, we were in the same room. Now we're actors and in the same industry, and we have the same agent. And, we could talk briefly about what acting is like now, being a disabled person as an actor. And then now, like, there is like a competition, obviously it is a competition more with yourself. Yeah. Because you can only, like you said, you can be the most amazing person on the planet, but as long as you're happy with what you're doing. Yeah. But how has the journey so far been with acting and like navigating it as a disabled person?
Yeah, it's been so much funner. Well, I mean, I won't say funner. It's been so much of an opportunity to have more to bigger things, like before I had some good stuff and cool stuff, but now I'm getting such bigger opportunities, which has been cool. As we talked about earlier, I was, on a TV show called Power, and I was able to do a couple seasons of that. I did another TV show with Hilary Swank and Josh Charles called Away, and it was it's on Netflix, and I did like 3 episodes on that, so that's been amazing to be able to like have this dream before I got injured, get injured, and then kind of get back into the dream was been like, has been amazing for me. Yeah.
And now you have a new perspective. You have new stories to tell.
Yeah.
Right.
So when he told me he was going to be on, and then I looked him up, I was like, wait, I just saw him on Raising Kanan the other day because I love the Power series. Like, oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. That was really fun to work with London and meet all those people. They've been really cool. You know, I keep in contact with some of them still, you know, and they've all been really, really open. And I hope they bring my character back. You know, I didn't die or anything. So
you were great.
you
were great in it. What other things did you learn when starting your barbershop show?
Well, see, I had produced before. So the barbershop show is an unscripted show. And the show that I had produced before was a scripted show. So it was a little difference in that aspect, and I did most of the stuff by myself. So the biggest lesson that I learned producing, I would just say maybe management, you know, of people and expectations and stuff like that. But I kind of learned that on my first production, you know, because it was like, you know, the DP had told everybody, oh yeah, we're going to get paid right after. And I was like, oh no, I didn't tell everybody that. I was going to pay everybody net 30, you know, but on my barbershop show, I actually do pay everybody right afterwards. So, you know, it's just like that made me think, oh, I got to really make sure I know that people know, you know, what's going on, what's in my mind. So, just having a good team is always a great thing as a producer, you know what I mean? Like we were talking about earlier, you know, making sure people flow well and, you know, do their job well, and they're not causing a problem and a big issue, you know, because it's your set at the end of the day when you're a producer, you know, you're running everything and everything's running off of you and your energy and stuff like that. So, so I recognize that, and I've been on enough sets to kind of know that, like, if you're cool, most people will be cool and things will be chill and relaxed. So that's why I like to keep a chill and relaxed environment. Danny was there, so he knows. Did you had a great time, right? So good food and everything.
Yeah, I was lucky to be a guest on his barbershop show, and the guest that they had on was Rampage Jackson.
Yeah.
And when they told me that, I was like, funny you say that. And now this all wraps back into Chaos Control because, you know, originally we started this as a nightlife, hospitality, like the crazy stories that we had.
Mm-hmm.
So when that came about, I was like, oh yeah, when I was working in a club one night, they told me to go tell this dude to put his shirt back on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, you know, because like full of like piss and vinegar, I guess they say. Is that the term?
A lot of ego.
A lot of ego and like, I work at the best club in LA. I'll go tell this dude. And I remember I ran down this hallway and I look up and the biggest dude I've ever seen in my life with his shirt off and a big gold chain, like walking towards me in slow motion. And I was like, right this way, sir, whatever you need. Can I take your pants off for you as well? I don't,
whatever you want to do.
Yeah, no. And then funny enough, like years later, I'm on a reality show with the man telling him his face.
Funny.
But did you ever have any hospitality history, like before becoming an actor? Like, do you have any stories of being in the service industry or being around people like that?
Not where I had to like talk to anybody like that, but I did when I was 16. I worked at Popeyes.
Okay.
Yeah. That was my first job. 15 and a half. I told him I was 16 and a half, so I got the job. So I didn't have to get a work permit, but I worked there for a year and it was good. My mom was like, if you're gonna get the job, you gotta at least have it for a year. You know, it's a good work experience. So I was like, all right. So when I got on, I did everything. I started off like washing chicken and seasoning chicken and putting it in the freezer, and then moved it up to cashier, and then was doing cook, and like I did everything in that place.
Fast food is stressful.
Yeah.
If you ever worked in fast food and then went somewhere else, you're like, oh my God, everything else is simple.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but it was fun. I made some cool relationships, and you know, I had a good time and I learned a lot. And then after the year was over, I was like, okay, I'm done. You know, I was like, it was fun. And I never worked in fast food again, but I had a lot of jobs growing up. Worked at a bookstore, worked at a liquor store. We got robbed while I was there. Yeah.
With the gunpoint or?
Yes, gunpoint.
Wow.
Yeah. It was like you remember like the little AM/PM? Well, I guess they still have AM/PM, right?
Yeah.
So it was kind of like a knockoff AM/PM, I guess. It was called Cheaper. It was
for real?
Yeah.
What part of the country is this?
Sacramento.
Sacramento, okay.
Yeah. And so I was in junior college, and they had a gas station and everything, and I would work nights, you know, and I actually literally lived like across the street from this place in some apartments. And one night I was working, and some guys ran in through the back door. We usually keep it locked, but as some people went out, they kind of came in, and it was so surreal because I was like, at the register, and I turned and I looked, and I was like, this guy's like, everybody get down, pow, and he shot the guy. I was like,
Oh shit.
I was like, oh, I think we're getting robbed. It was like so like I was so slow in the moment, and
Right.
it was like, and then they ran in, like 3 or 4 guys ran in. They start like looting and everything, and then 2 guys come to me, and then like it was only 2 registers, so the guy behind me. And I had just like logged out of my register. And the way to log in the register, you got to put all these, but I got a whole list of things to do. Like you got to hit 89999 and then hit this button. And it was a big thing. And it was a big thing to close out. So he was like, open the register. I was like, oh, shit. Like, I got to open the register. And my mind's not even working that fast. So it was like, okay, 8, 9, no, where's the list? Where's it?
Yeah.
And he's pushing me. He's like, come on, man. He's got this big like back 10 to my head. I'm like, I was like, man, I was like, I don't have any money in here. And then I turn around and I see the other guy like, pow, hit the other cashier. And all I see is his feet in there. And I'm like, oh shoot, what the heck is going on? Like, it's like rolling like in my head. And so I'm like, oh man, I've never told this story, by the way. But,
Oh.
so then he pushed me a couple times. He's like, well, what's in that drawer? So I opened the drawer down there, and it happened to be like a spare register. It was only like $25 in it, but 5s and 1s or something like that. I was like, here. And he took that. And then like, it all happened within 5 minutes, maybe less. And then next thing you know, they all like ran out. I don't know if they got him to open the safe or whatever, but they all ran out, and I was just still standing there like,
Frozen.
Yeah.
that just happened. And then I heard him peeling off, and I was like, oh, maybe I should get down.
Right.
Like it was all after the fact. Like my mind was working so crazy and surreal. But yeah, so that was a interesting story when we got robbed. And then after that, I really didn't care about the job anymore. I was just like, yeah. And then I remember like a couple nights later, like, I don't know, something happened. Somebody was calling, hey, you guys getting robbed again? I was like, no.
Damn, oh, no way.
Yeah, it was a crazy time. But yeah, I stopped working there not too long after that.
I remember the first time, like I was leaving Sayers Club, one of the last places that I worked at in Hollywood, and as I was walking out, these guys were running towards me, holding guns. And you're right, you just freeze.
Yeah.
But for a split second, then I just like ran to the alley, and like my heart is just going 100 miles a minute. But like that's not real life when you see an actual gun,
like this close to my head. Like, open the register. Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Like, how do I do this thing again?
You don't think about. Fortunately, I've been in multiple nightclub shootings, and same thing. There's people around, and like you see people like just freeze up right away. I remember one of them was at Coachella, and I was doing an after party, and then one of my cocktail waitresses was like frozen. I was like, run! She's like, I can't. I literally had to like pick her up over my shoulder, and we all had to like book. It's fearful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to, before we wrap things up, we just touched lightly on like, what is some of your favorite, funniest memories from being on set, or like maybe being an Olympian, that journey. What's some of your favorite memories? Something fun.
From being on set, just working has always been fun for me, and also, like I don't think like the first day on set when I was on Power, I don't feel like they really like, I auditioned and I had won the role, but I don't feel like they knew what they were getting.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because like, I like to improv. I got jokes. I'm thinking a lot. Like when I'm coming in, I'm a writer. I've already thought about this scene and a couple buttons. You know what I mean? So like I'm thinking of those things within the scene. So when I came, I read the scene twice with London. He plays Uncle Marv on the show, and then they were like, "Okay, Jamie, this is good." And so now I was like, I always had this thing from learning from Bentley, like you run it twice clean, and then the third one, give me something different. Cool. So the third one, in his boy, I was like,
Yeah.
I give it to him, and he's like, and I'm like, yeah, and he's like, okay, and then afterwards, everybody's like, yo, that was great. That was so great. The director comes out and she's like, I love that. Keep that. Do that again. I was like, okay, no problem. So like, I don't think they realized what they were getting.
Yes.
I think they just looked at me like, oh, he's an actor in a wheelchair. He's probably okay. Can probably handle the lines, but that's probably all we're going to get from him. But nah.
And that's in general, just
That's awesome.
People with disabilities. That's how we're looked at.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So it's great that we're able to be put in these situations where we can show people, look, this is nothing.
Right.
Like
right.
I'm on your level
Yeah.
as an actor.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
and that's another thing acting wise. I tell people are like, how do I get in?
Mhm.
Train.
Yeah. Mm.
Go
No.
do your own movies.
Right.
Like,
right.
how do I break in? Like, you have to work.
Right.
And then when you get there, you have to tell them, like, I belong at this table.
Right. Right.
Like, I am, yes, there's talent, but have you worked as hard as some of these people or even harder?
Right,
you know?
right. And I think that booked me more episodes on the show because originally I was only supposed to do like 2 and I ended up doing 5.
Yeah.
2 in that season and then 3 in the next season, and became a character that people loved.
Yeah.
People
amazing,
like,
yeah.
yo, I love Demo.
Yeah.
Like, he's a real one. And I'm like, I got so many new followers and so many
That's
messages
awesome.
on
That's awesome.
Instagram. Yeah, that was so cool. It was fun.
Where do we find you on that?
On Instagram at Jamie Nieto.
And then what seasons of
Of Power. I'm in season 2 and season 3.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah.
I need to catch up on
And
that.
season 4 just came
Absolutely.
out now. Actually, it's playing.
Nice, man.
So I wasn't in season 4, but hey, I need you guys to call Sasha Penn, tell him to write my character back in so we can get some more of me in there.
Sasha, you
You
better
heard
do it.
Yeah.
You heard it here. So, Jamie, obviously you've worked so much on your mental health and have this amazing fortitude. What is something you have learned or heard of or that you've created that will help people struggling with their mental health to keep going?
Yeah, watch this interview. I'm sure you'll get a lot out of it. But I always tell people your only limitations are what you believe them to be. So believe you can be the best. You know what I mean?
Love it. That's a great one.
And I said that before I got injured. So I would definitely say keep believing, keep fighting, and never give up. I know it sounds cliche to say never give up because everybody says it, but it's so true. I'm telling you, I just
Nah, it's
told
not
you
cliche at
10
all.
years
Yeah.
of my life, 11 years to make an Olympic team. Right now, I've been injured for 9 years and I'm back on my feet and I'm walking, I'm pushing forward. Who knows? But I will get there and you will get there.
Yeah.
You just got to stay positive and keep fighting and keep God first and everything will be all right.
Yes.
Wise-
That's what I say, like the
Wise words. Yeah.
Right?
Never
You never give up because you never know the next day could be the day your life changes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Martin Lawrence said that. He's like, you can get 1,000 no's, but it'd be that 1,001 that changed your life forever.
Right. And if
Yeah.
you would have stopped before then, you don't get that one. You just,
Yeah.
Some very wise words from 2 very wise men. Well, I just got to say, man, thank you guys you're both such amazing advocates for the disabled community, but just inspirations for everybody. Like, I was so inspired sitting here listening to you. Your story was amazing. Your energy was amazing. Yeah, man, thank you so much for being on the
Yes.
show.
Thank you,
We're so
Mikey.
great.
It's an honor, man.
Grateful that you were here.
Yeah.
Thank you all for watching this episode of Chaos Control with Olympian producer and actor Jamie Nieto. I'm Mikey Tableman alongside.
Danny J. Gomez.
Check us out next time on the Chaos. Peace.
Peace.